Good afternoon. This is Susan Lawton talking to you from Rainbow Sunny, New Jersey, and Deborah Wayland in New Jersey. Deborah, are you there?
I am here. Hi, everyone.
And we have people in Michigan who are attending because they were not able to be with us last week when we were in Michigan sharing some ideas to support people's transition after a loss. And what were some of the things we shared, Deb?
Well, we just want to give people tools to overcome their grief, their anger, anything that they're going through. We're sharing some oils, we're sharing some techniques, and just hoping to give you some action plans on how to be well and be happy.
Yes, be well and be happy.
I think that's a song. Don't worry, be happy.
Yes, your way.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, this particular picture I love because you know I love Mother Nature. We
Yes.
leave our human body behind so we can soar like a dragonfly, free of any human pain or suffering. And this is a cool picture of a dragonfly. When you're having
Beautiful.
challenges, it's always good to start this kind of heavy topic with frankincense and wild orange.
hmm
What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say it's really good to think about being like a dragonfly and that we can soar above anything that we're going through in our lives. To imagine that feeling and of our loved ones or anything that we're going through free of pain and suffering. So it's a beautiful image to keep in your mind.
Yes. People suffer and grieving sometimes is called a process, and we're going to cover that. But a
Mhm.
lot of things can trigger a grief response. So if you yourself have strange waves of feeling, or you have friends that have surprising reactions to things, we want you to think in terms of some of the things on this list. Sources of loss. When people feel abandoned, people like get reorganized out of their job, they feel very abandoned. If you suddenly discover someone in your life has got a serious addiction to alcohol or to drug use, if
Mhm.
you lose someone to a passing over, death of a pet. I mean, a pet is a member of the family, a dog, a cat, whatever it
Absolutely.
is your pet.
hmm And we want to remember that loss isn't just a death, it can be a divorce, ending a relationship, even a fire or theft in your home. I had friends personally suffer a robbery within their home, and a part of them really had to go through the grieving process after that.
Yes. And remember, a lot of these things that we're listing here, you have absolutely no control over. And that's part of what we're going to talk about today. That part of grieving is recognizing what we have control or influence over and what we just have to come to recognize this is the way it's going to be from now on, and we have to find a way to live with it. Sometimes when we talk about acceptance, people think we mean you're supposed to get joyful about something.
Mm-mm.
No, that's not it. We're asking you to develop coping mechanisms so that the change that has been imposed upon you without any input from you can go on.
Right, and we also have to realize that everyone suffers pain and grief differently. Everyone is unique in the way they handle it, and friends and people on the outside of them, it's not our place to judge or condemn them for what they're doing. Just everyone has their own way of dealing through this in their own process. There's no right or wrong way.
Yeah, you can't do anything wrong. You feel what you feel, and that's just how it is. Here's one of our famous quotes.
hmm How can a person begin to describe the deep ache from loss? There are no words that could come close to touching the pain. And that's true. Everyone's pain is different. Everyone has a different ache inside of them.
Even if you're a caregiver, even if you're working with somebody who's 107 years old and they're in hospice care and you know they're going to transition into heaven any moment, when the event actually happens and your life is changed again without any input from you, you are still going to go through waves of emotional feelings to adjust. It's part of what happens. Everything has changed. Everything. And
Right.
it changes by, it looks different, it tastes different. Banal conversations, people being obsessed about one of their fake nails getting chipped makes you crazy when you're in grief. People being obsessed with silliness can be very painful when you're in the grieving process. And you're not doing anything wrong, and they're not doing anything wrong, but you need to recognize that used to make you laugh. Or you used to go to the same nail salon, and that was just as important to you. Now things look different.
It takes as long as it takes, and that is just so true. There is no timeline, there's no set limits on when you're going to feel better or when you're going to process things differently or just going through the whole thing. No two people are like, no two people in the same family grieve the same way. So make no comparisons, don't judge yourself for maybe it taking you a little bit longer and a sibling less time. It just takes as long as it takes.
Right. And we have oil suggestions on different panels we're going to share with you today. And again, each person's experience is unique. And sometimes oils wake you up to your pain, and sometimes oils help the pain settle into its proper place. Geranium is an amazing gift to emotions. It has a way of helping painful loss, settle into its right priority in your life. Like if you lose a job, it's going to affect you differently than if you lose your car because someone steals it. I mean, things are going to affect how you relate to yourself, how you relate to others, and it takes as long as it takes.
We need that today. We need those umbrellas today.
Yes, we do. Do not confuse my bad days as a sign of weakness. Those are actually the days I'm fighting my hardest. Okay, what does that mean? Sometimes you're cranky, sometimes when you have sharp answers for people, or sometimes when you're declining messages, okay? It's because you don't want to be with people, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. I think as far as being a friend of someone going through the process, we have to realize that we're not going to take those bad words or the attitude personally. We want to depersonalize the situation and not judge that person and just be there in support of what they're going through.
Right. Remember, this is not about you.
Right.
When you're with a friend who's grieving, if you have expectations of they should be interested in your activities or they should be concerned about you, that's not fair. If you're visiting somebody as a mitzvah, that's a kindness of the heart or a charity from your heart, your concern should be about them, not about how comfortable you are.
Right.
So get with the program.
And by getting with the program, we have to admit that, yes, when you're going through that process, you've changed. Pain does that to people. And you have to recognize that. You're not going to be the same person you were prior to this loss, whatever type it might be. And those around you have to realize that you're now changed. Things that used to bring you happiness, going to the favorite hot dog place and that was something that you used to share with that person, it's going to bring about different feelings. And so your life has changed. There may be activities that you no longer want to participate in, and people around you have to recognize that.
And if they don't recognize it, it's okay. If people make you
Right.
uncomfortable and you're the one who's grieving,
Mm-hmm.
then you just perhaps need to suggest that they could run errands for you. That rather than let them be near you to say irritating things because they don't know what to say, or they think their inquiring questions are somehow being helpful, like you haven't already thought of that question. Hello? Anybody in pain? We've had the review. Thank you. There isn't a new question you can ask. And then what happens is 6 months after you've lost somebody, all of a sudden you're going to have a really bad day. And we could be going along and thinking we've worked out a routine. It's a new routine. We're feeling good. And then out of nowhere, grief hits full force. We don't know what's going to trigger it. These are not setbacks. They are a part of the experience.
Right. When grieving, we can just be going along. And I know for myself and for friends that have gone through this, they can be walking down the aisle in the supermarket and look at like a product on the shelf brings back a memory, or watching a movie that you used to previously share with someone. It just might bring that emotion on, and that's okay. And we suggest that to get you through these times, you drink lots more water, you criticize yourself less. Just don't punish yourself for the way you're feeling. Make a plan, and we're going to be talking more about that, of course, and seeing that you're making all the good choices that you actually can.
And please remember, whatever pain you're in, you're not alone.
Right.
What I mean is, you're not the only one who has fallen into this really dark pit and think that you can't ever feel good again. There are tons and tons of people going through pain that was initiated by 11 million different ways, and you're not really alone. What you have to get is that you're in charge of you. And this is the grief wheel. And this was something we talked about the other night, kind of letting people know, like Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, there's stages that things happen in, but you can't organize it. That's why it's a wheel and has spokes coming off of it. Things are going to happen in their own order, but the reason we want to talk about this, remember, Debbie, we were talking about when we recognize that we've deteriorated, we're not moving forward, we're stuck.
That's right.
If you recognize signs of deterioration in your friend or yourself, you need to reach for a stick. You need to reach for what will help you move back into the shower for hygiene. What will help you, like alcohol does not help with sleep. Sugar does not help you rest. The body has to work really hard. So if you go on a Dunkin' Donut binge, or you go on an alcohol binge to try to quiet whatever the noise is that's hurtful, it's only going to make things worse.
Right. And you have to see the deterioration, like if you're having signs under that deterioration area, it's your body's asking you to please change something. Okay? You got to do something a little bit different to get yourself back in that wheel on the road to recovery. So just see that as a sign, as this, that, okay, I have to make a change so that I can get better.
Yeah, but just so you know, there's no straight lines when it comes to grief. There's no one hallway, there's no one escalator. It is a labyrinth.
Right, and actually, we don't even necessarily follow that wheel in that same pattern. We can bounce back and forth.
Right. Now,
right, it's not that straight road.
Right. Now, this is a skeletal structure that shows many different scans that show the heat, and these are pain centers in the body. There's a 2-page handout that Teresa said she would get to you guys that explains what happens when we harbor pain or we try to manage it by stuffing it somewhere. Like as children, when children are battered, abused, neglected, they're the victims of an adult child of an alcoholic or an alcoholic. They tend to stuff the abandonment and rejection in the liver or gallbladder or what we call the soft tissue organs that can become very inflamed even as children. As adults and as young people, we can stuff pain in all these different areas of our body. And the sheets will tell you what areas reflect to some areas of your thinking. Because as we all know, thinking controls our chemistry. And when you're in a lot of pain, it's kind of like a filter about how you view everything in your world. And when we
Right.
checked this out the other day, we were surprised, like when you have a lot of pain in your knees, it has to do with not being flexible, resisting change, resisting the fact that life has gone on and it will never be normal. There's a lot of points on that 2-page handout that I think you might find very interesting, because then you can develop affirmations, you can develop blends so that you allow your pain to settle without hanging on to it. Deb and I both in our life have experienced when we let go of, like when my grandfather died, I was very, very angry with him because he was so mean to my grandmother for years, and we all had to witness it. And even as teenagers, we were not happy with how Grandpa treated Grandma. And it took me years to forgive him and to understand he too had been a victim. But the day I finally got it, that it was me hanging on to being angry with him, that it wasn't, about him, it wasn't about Grandma, it was my judgment that saw it. I had a pain in the center of my back that was like somebody pulled the knife out. It was just gone. I'd had it with me
Mm-hmm.
for so long I didn't even realize that it was there.
Right. And a lot of people, they get the stomach pain and they blame it on, their upsetment. They say, oh, their stomach is assy and they're swallowing Tums and things like that. But a lot of times when you get pain there, when you're going through this process, we talked the other day that it means that you haven't digested something negatively, figuratively. And the feeling of not being respected causes that sensation in your stomach, and it adds to the grief. So when you finally confront it and digest it, that pain will also go away. So, I mean, I found these 2 sheets absolutely amazing, and I could connect so many different pains I've had over my life with similar feelings and grief. For me, the loss of my pet, he was a part of my household, my family for the longest time. And for me, it was a pain in the shoulder, and I just had a really hard time letting that go. I was carrying that burden around, and when I finally released it, wow, that that expression, like the weight has lifted. Well, it did. I think I grew about an inch.
Yeah.
So refer to those 2 sheets when you get them from Therese, and you're going to make those connections yourself.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I have heard more people talk about the benefits of the deep blue capsules and the special, phenol formula that's put together that is providing an easing of pain and allowing the inflammation to be reduced so that people can work things through. I'm one of those people that if I take one at night, it puts me out, and the next day I could sleep until noon. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's a wonderful element. But other people can take 2, 3 times a day, and it's just what they need. It's one of those things you start with 1 gently and you work your way up to see what your body can respond to.
Sometimes grief and disappointment can be so strong and deep that many times it makes it difficult to take in the comfort that's needed. A lot of times friends or family come around to try to offer you that support, that comfort. And when you're going through the process, we don't even see it. We just don't realize what's being offered to us, and we're not able to feel relief in whatever's going on. So we have ways to help you get through that. What are we going to do, Sue?
Well, I know this sounds strange, but make lists. Make lists of things and tasks. Think of tasks you can give people to do, because you'd be surprised the number of adults that you know who've never suffered a loss. Their grandparents are still alive. Their aunts and uncles live so far away that when they passed away, they didn't even attend the funeral. They don't understand the loss of a family member, and they never had any pets. So all they know is that you're upset and you feel bad, and they don't know what to do. So if you have a list of tasks that you can hand them to say, you know what would be really helpful? If you could go buy that 10-pound bag of salt for me and put it in the garage, so because it's going to get icy next week, or if you need something done in your garden, if you make a list of helpful, genuinely helpful tasks. I mean, after all, Debbie, you and I agreed, how many chocolate cakes can you eat? For some reason,
Exactly.
people associate loss with you got to eat chocolate. Not that I
Mhm.
object, okay? I just say, how many can you eat, okay?
Well, actually, in my neighborhood, it was coming over with the casserole. You know
Oh,
that
the casserole, okay.
yes, yes, that 9 by 13 pan with the casserole. We had a lot of those.
Okay.
But it's because people don't know what to do, and they just feel like it's the only way, to reach out and offer some support. So that's why I love your idea of making lists. And actually, you're getting something done, accomplished that needs to get done. It's an amazing idea.
Right. Oh, no, it is. And when you can offer them something constructive to do, and I'm not above asking people to wash my kitchen floor. I know that sounds funny, but I have friends that love to clean. Is that on my list? Yeah, it's just above exercising on my favorite thing to do. I have a list of favorite things. Let me see. Physical exercise is way at the bottom. And just above
Um,
that, of course, is cleaning house. I do love to do laundry. Okay, I love doing laundry, love painting walls. Washing the kitchen floor is not my favorite thing. Okay?
yeah, but the fact that it's above our friend Broomhilda over here. I'm letting her know that washing the floor is above her too.
Don't tell her, you might hurt her feelings.
No, but making the list doesn't have to always be a chore. Like you can just tell someone the next time you're driving by Starbucks, I'm in the mood for a caramel macchiato. Could you drop it by? So it doesn't always have to be a chore. It could just be something. Oh, let me know when the tickets go on sale for that show. I've been wanting to see it. It doesn't have to just be a task like that. It can be something that you may be looking forward to as well.
Right. Now, I want to touch briefly on Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Some people have found her books and her ideas comforting when they are struggling with stages of grief. And I always find it so amusing because people who are like accountants or engineers who are very precise, God
Hmm.
bless them, they want to organize other people's grieving. And I often find myself in a position of translating to the husband or to the wife what it is they're saying, because they're going like, why are we arguing? Well, it's because, honey, they're trying to be helpful. They're trying to organize how you feel, because that's how they do it and that's how they are okay with it. People have to figure these things out themselves. We do not assign people an order of events. We do not assign people, okay, well, now you're in denial. Okay, here's a normal pattern. I get a phone call, and this really happened. My father in law called me at work one day, and he never calls, so I knew this was going to be strange news. And he tells me my young brother in law has died. And I went, no, no way. You can't be talking about Tom. You can't. And he kept saying, yes, Kim's husband. And I said, oh my God, how am I going to tell John? And I was in total denial that anything took place.
Hmm.
Then I got really angry. How dare he check out and the rest of us are still here? And then while we were making arrangements for the flights to go to Michigan, I was bargaining that maybe they made a mistake. Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe nothing will change. And then when you finally have to cope with, yes, indeed, he's gone, the helplessness sets in. You're helpless to change what has occurred, and then you feel powerless. And what happens
Mm-hmm.
when we feel powerless? We get depressed. We
That's
feel
right.
we have no power in any area of our life.
Right. That loss of control. Yeah.
Again, this was imposed on us. We did not ask for it. We were not taken into consideration. We did not get an advance memo. And then there's acceptance. Remember, I told you what a tricky word that is?
It is.
Because,
Because,
go ahead.
go ahead. No, it's okay. Go ahead. Finish.
It's not approving, okay? It's not approving what's going on. It's accepting the fact that your life has forever changed and that you have
Mm-hmm.
to live your life, enjoy your life, have amazing new experiences, different experiences, but you'll still be missing Tom because he's not going to be there.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say a friend of mine is going through that right now, and she's in between a few of those stages. And she was telling me actually just last night that some of the words that really get to her the most are when people say, "I know how you feel." And she said, yeah, she said to me, "I just want to scream, no, you can't, you don't know how I feel, you know?" And so people that are with people going through that process, just, let them go through it and offer other words of support than those words, because apparently it really does affect the way the griever is feeling when you offer that.
Oh, yeah, because they just want to lash out and say, you don't have a friggin' clue.
Well, that's it. She's so sweet and kind, my friend Anna, and she would never do that. So what's happening is she's holding that in every time someone does that to her. And I felt last night she was at her boiling point, and so she can release it to me. We've been friends for years, and so I was the good person to just like vent that all at, but she would never do it to the person saying those words. So it's really important sometimes that we stop and think before we speak.
Right. And remember, we discussed earlier that everyone's experience is unique. And we don't know what the
Exactly.
triggers are going to be. But if you can remember that angry is just sad's bodyguard, and there's nothing about our society that prepares children or young adults for what do you do when somebody dies? What do you say? What's appropriate? If you're a very religious person and your particular organized religion has rituals, practices, organized ways of people showing respect, that's fine, but people still don't know how to feel.
Right.
And sometimes anger
And
is sad's bodyguard or fear's bodyguard.
right. And when you feel when you're sad, there's times you just don't want to talk. You're in that just leave me alone stage, and people don't always understand it, and then that also brings out the anger.
Right.
So, we have a myth. If we keep busy enough, the pain will go away. But the fact is that no matter how busy one is, our hearts will still be broken. While activities help ease the pain, it is not a healer of pain. And we really have to keep that in our thoughts. Again, my friend Anna, that I was just mentioning, she keeps herself busy all day. From 9 to 5, she's on the go. She's with people, she's volunteering, she's really being active. But then at the end of the night, when it's quiet in the house and everyone's gone, and that's when she feels the pain again. So you can't run away from it. You just, it's just not a healer of pain. It's nice to be busy, but you're still going to go through it and feel it.
And whatever it is your it. And
Yes.
being busy is something that I often encourage. The reason I encourage it, because I want you physically moving around. I need
Mm-hmm.
you to move around. The reason you need to move around is because of oxygenation. If you are depressed and you're not getting enough oxygen, you're contributing to your own prolonged discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
So being busy, at least you're moving. No one,
Yes.
no one has the ability to judge your emotional state of being. I mean, when I go to funeral homes, Debbie will tell you she's been with me and it cracks her up. You never know what's going to come out of my purse because I got something in there for everybody. Whether it's a small child running around and they need an activity, I've got coloring books and crayons. Whatever's going on at the wake that needs to be addressed, I'm ready. And I'm often sneaking people bottles of water. And they'll go like, "Oh, we're not supposed to drink it in here." And I'll go, "Great, let's go out in the hall." Because they need a
Hmm.
break. Some of the people that are coming, quote unquote, to pay their respects are not coming for the right reason. They don't mean to be self centered. They don't mean to inflict guilt on you by saying, "Oh, it was just like this when my dad died." Oh, I don't want to
Hmm.
hear about your dad right now. I'm trying to
That's so
figure
true.
out how I'm going to look at men fishing from now on because that's my dad's favorite thing to do. And you want to talk about your dad? Make an appointment with the therapist. Don't bother me right now. This is about me. It's not about you. But nobody else I know would ever say that to people. I'm the only one who look at them and say, "It's okay for you to go now. Thank you for coming."
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes,
Everybody
you're
has to deal with things their own way. I can hear you laughing, Gwen. You've been there. I know you have.